Every CEO's journey has its Everest. The moments when the path forward feels steep, uncertain, and alone. With Sherpa CEO coaching, you don't climb alone. Our experienced coaches are your guides, helping you break through barriers, sharpen your strategy, strengthen your leadership, and build a team that can carry you higher. With tailored one-on-one coaching, strategic planning, and real accountability, your summit is within reach. Sherpa CEO Coaching, your guide to confidence, clarity, and extraordinary business growth. Get coached and learn more at sherpaceo.com.
Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey with your host, Dave Westcott. The Entrepreneurial Journey is a weekly podcast that streams live every Tuesday at 9:15 a.m. Pacific on Dave's YouTube channel and LinkedIn profile. Now here's Dave with this week's episode.
Good morning and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott, and I have with me this morning special guest, Perdue, co-owner, Smart Image LLC. Kara, good morning.
Correct. Good morning. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How are you doing today?
Absolutely wonderful.
That's good. I love the background. Is this something that you guys just made, or is this the actual office?
No, this is the AI background.
Okay, this is the AI background.
Yep.
Well, it looks very, it looks like a smart image. I'll tell you what, it's looking, it's looking very
works.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very nice. So you have been in this space for a very long time, 30 years. Is that correct?
It is, at the risk of dating myself. Yes, it's been a few decades.
But that's okay. You know what? Experience is, you know what? You can't put a price on what experience brings.
That's right.
To the table. Can you tell us a little bit about what Smart Image does?
Yes, absolutely. So we are a consultancy agency focusing on public relations, marketing, content development, social media, content and management, crisis communications, and message development. So we help companies first decide who they want to be and how they want to talk about themselves. And then we help them get the word out and build that reputation to the right audiences that helps them gain the foothold in their industries.
Wow, that's amazing. And the experience that you brought to the table, you were a key executive working with groups like Verizon Wireless,
Yes.
Target, Simon Property Group, and so you've brought that knowledge and that expertise into this space.
Absolutely. And going back kind of to our comment a couple seconds ago is, in the last 30 years, what we've all had to learn and relearn, right, in our careers. So, taking Target, for example, I was the account lead on the agency team at the time in Atlanta, who took Target and launched Target.com.
Oh, wow.
That's how old I am. Yeah. And then launched Target's relationship with Amazon when Target started selling its, and I had Jeff Bezos and the Target CEO in a room at the same time, lining up all these interviews. So we were, my career started working with tech companies on CD-ROM. Then we had to convince them that their brand reputation absolutely needed a website. Then we started to have to convince them that their brand reputation and growth absolutely needed to be on Twitter and other, social media as that grew. And now we're working with brand reputation and how AI is affecting that. And it's been quite a career as far as, being in tech PR and working with mostly in my time, tech companies, being able to, shift focus and learn new things over the last few decades.
It sounds like you've had an amazing journey. Talk to us a little bit about brand reputation and AI. I mean, that's something that, you see so much about AI. I mean, it's AI, you're bombarded with AI, but brand reputation and AI, what does that really look like in today's marketplace?
Yeah. Well, I would back up a little bit and suggest that brand reputation really started a huge shift in how you manage it with the rise of social media. We're talking, let's say, 2005-ish type of year, when brands were worried that people were saying negative things about them, right, on Twitter or on Facebook or on LinkedIn. And what we as brand managers had to explain and manage was that people are talking about your brand offline no matter what. But
Okay.
what social media allowed us to do in a good way is hear and see those negative comments and be able to address them and really get a better sense of what your brand reputation is and where you need to shift and fix certain things. AI, of course, has elevated that. It didn't start with AI, but it has elevated it in that people are now using AI more and more for search and things. I mean, I think YouTube is still the biggest search engine,
Hmm.
not Google, that it's YouTube. People
Wow.
go to look for things there. So, you have to be able to roll with how AI algorithms are changing the search, the SEO, and, that's not my personal area of expertise in marketing, but it certainly is changing the game as far as what websites and how they need to be built, how websites, what they need to say, and what brands need to say on everything they put out into the public.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's a lot to do. So when you look at that and you're working with a company, do you do like a brand audit? Do you go and you look at their
we do.
website and their socials and all of
Hmm.
that, and then you come up with this is where you're missing, and it can sometimes be kind of painful. It's like,
Yes, yes, it can be. But also part of that brand audit is also learning. It's very important to learn what that company, why they think they need a brand on it in the first place. Why do they want PR? Why do they want marketing? I mean, are you not reaching the companies that you want to reach? Are you going into pitches for new business and you're not closing it and your competitors are? We want to talk to the sales team. We want to know what they're hearing on the street from people that they're pitching. We want to talk to customers if we are able to do so and find out, that's all part of figuring out where your brand stands. And not just what to fix, but also how to evolve it. The IBM brand reputation is not the same IBM brand reputation as it had 20 years ago, right? They have had to evolve with the times into a little bit less suit and tie, a little bit more Gen X at first, and then millennial type of thing. So every brand can't be stagnant for decades and decades online. Now, we also work with a lot of startup companies, fresh entrepreneurial companies. And we understand that most of my career, I mean, yes, I worked with brands like Target and Verizon Wireless, but most of my career has been with tech startup companies. And so I've seen a lot of them succeed. I've seen a lot of them not succeed. And helping companies focus on what's important to their specific audience, especially at the very beginning, is critical to then that startup making that next step into success.
Hmm. That's a good point. What are some of the mistakes that you see these companies make early on?
The, the biggest one and most common one is they have a great idea. They might even have a great beta product, or maybe even some great product that some folks are testing and using now. And the company leadership wants to be everything to everybody. There's a lack of focus. Who is your number one audience to start with? Yes, your widget might be applicable to a dozen different industries, but let's focus on one, the 80% that's going to get you the 20%, or the 20%, excuse me, that's going to get you the 80% return, right? Focus your message, focus all your sales efforts, focus that on the most profitable, most likely to succeed segment of the market first. Then, as you grow and you succeed in there, you can then brand or retool your widget for other markets. So I think the biggest thing is because entrepreneurs love their ideas, and they are, it's their baby. I get it. It's their
Mm-hmm.
baby. They want to succeed, and they want it to be everything to everybody, but that's the biggest mistake I've seen.
That is a big mistake. How do you help them? How do you help them rein that back in?
We try. And most of the time they listen. Most of the time they listen. I've had a few examples over the course of my career in which they didn't want to hear, let's focus for now. Let's spend the next 6 months focused and on X, and then we can turn to Y. But we do it through research. We do it through, again, conversations with their leadership, conversations with any current customers that they have, conversations looking at their competitive set, their competitors, and what their competitors are selling and what they're saying about themselves. Not just the products that their competitors sell, but what their competitors say about themselves on their websites, where their competitors' executives are. Are they speaking at certain industry events and not other industry events? I mean, we take a hard look at what the market looks like, and then our job is to find a spot for you to fit in and excel above those competitors with what we're doing and saying.
Hmm. That's really interesting. How do you help them rise above the noise? How do you help the entrepreneurs and founders, rise above all the noise that's out there?
Yeah. Well, a lot of that is through a strategic PR and or a strategic marketing program. And from a PR standpoint, which is my area of expertise, really, my business partner is more on the marketing side and sales side with his experience. From the PR side, it is, where do we want your brand and your executives who are your brand to show up? We want to be in these publications. And yes, I know you want to be in the Wall Street Journal and Forbes, but
Mm-hmm.
let's start with the vertical markets. A lot of times, I have a journalism degree from Ohio University, and, my background is in journalism. And media, the big guns like CNN, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, they're usually a few months, maybe even up to 6 months behind the vertical market stories. So, for example, if I sell a, uh, give me a second to think about this. If I sell a wireless video, a wireless video system to the manufacturing industry to help both security as well as to anti-theft, as well as to help with economics and efficiencies in the manufacturing plant. I'm going to start with your company by suggesting let's target manufacturing publications like Manufacturing Today and several others. Let's get them to write about why this newfangled video wireless technology is critical to this growing industry, particularly in today's day and age. Then let's find out, once we get that established, because those are the people that's going to buy your product anyway, right? The people
Mm-hmm.
who are reading those publications.
Yep.
Let's go to manufacturing events and try to get your executives to speak at those events about why new technologies are important. Let's go to, let's write our own stories, write our own content, put it out on our social media, put it out on a company blog, get contributed articles that we write, but are neutral, but about the technology, placed in certain publications. Then, once we've established that and you've got some revenue under your belt and customers under your belt, let's find out who's covering the manufacturing industry at publications like the Wall Street Journal and figure out how they're covering it, what they're covering. And then my job is to get them interested in a broader story. Nobody's going to do a story about a startup company only unless you got a really, really big name behind you. right?
Right.
So a broader story, about the industry and how it's changing and what startups are, I'm making this up as I go along, but what startups are, you know, throwing new technologies into the manufacturing plant and how does that work? So that's kind of the steps that we take. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but
No, that did. I think that's a
okay.
great answer. I got what kind of when you guys are looking at doing business, at Smart Image, what kind of companies are you working with today? What are the companies that
Yeah.
that are coming on and partnering with you guys?
Yeah, it really varies because we do several different aspects of PR and marketing and sales. For example, we work directly with some doctors and dental offices who need to really build their online presence, both social media as well as their website, in order to attract new patients in a very competitive market.
Hmm.
We work directly, we've been hired over the years from major agencies, PR and marketing agencies out of New York, like Burson Marsteller would bring one of us in because we have a certain expertise
Hmm.
that their team might not have had. And they bring us on and present us as part of the team. And we currently do that with agencies out of New York, Chicago, of course, here in Charleston, South Carolina, Atlanta, couple agencies in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're, part of a virtual team, if you will, based on our expertise.
Very
We
cool.
also work with tech companies, and I mean, it really runs the gamut.
That's very cool. Okay, so I gotta know, like you've got this great career. You're in it. You're working with these big C-level executives, guys like Jeff Bezos and the former CEO of Target, and it sounds like you're just like you're just really killing it in corporate America. Why go out on your own and become a co-owner of Smart Image? Like, why leave all that success and it sounds like a good time behind and say, I'm going to dip my toes in entrepreneurship on
Just
the
give it a shot.
entrepreneurial
Yeah.
journey, and just here we go. Why did you do that?
Well, it was kind of a procession, if you will. I worked for an international global agency for over a decade. And as global agencies can do, I was an executive vice president there. And as global agencies do, they tend to become more about the billing the client, and not about what we can do for the client. So that was the first jump, really, that I left a global agency as an EVP and moved to a startup agency. I was employee number 2 at another agency in Atlanta that is still around today. They are now, I think they might be close to, if not up to, a $10 million agency, maybe 30, 40 employees. So I spent 10 years, about a decade, working with them and building that agency up from the beginning. And that was great because it was back to the basics. It was back to why we went into this business in the first place. We want to help companies become famous. We want to help companies manage their reputation when things are well and when things go wrong. And then in 2017, I just there was nothing wrong with where I was. I just thought, let's just try this on our own and give me more flexibility in both lifestyle as well as who I work with, what clients we take on. And it's really worked. It's taken off.
Hmm. That's very, very interesting. So you're having fun on the journey.
Absolutely. It's certainly been a journey. Yeah. But after a few decades, you probably have this too. It's you get to a point where you don't want to work just for the sake of work. You want to do good, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, you want to be able to use whatever talents you have honed over the years to do good work for good people and good companies. And I can honestly say that the companies that we're currently working with, the brands that we help, I really want to see them succeed. And when we start feeling like these guys aren't fun to work with, these guys aren't nice to us, these guys, it's not about let's just get a paycheck. It's about let's use our
You
talents
want to
for
like the
people
people
who
you
like,
work with.
oh, 100%. Absolutely.
That's good. I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because as time goes on,
We call it the
you
no asshole rule, if I can say that on
yeah,
air.
you
Yeah.
can. Yeah, yeah. You know what? It's true.
Yeah.
Nobody likes those people, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like
Hmm.
life is too short. They're the I call
Hmm.
them grinders, right? They're the
Yeah.
people who just grind on you and grind on you and grind on
Yeah.
you and grind on you.
Yep.
And sometimes they're some of the lowest paying people in the entire program,
Sometimes
So
it's the CEO,
and sometimes
you
it's the
know?
biggest company in your network.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you have to really be on point with that. Okay. So, you now, do I have this right that your husband is your business partner? Did I get
That's
that
correct.
right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
So, now that's got to be an interesting dynamic because a lot of people will say, there's no way I'm working with my
Yeah.
spouse. There's no way I can spend all that time with them.
Yeah.
How have you navigated marriage, business,
Hmm.
family? How have you put all those things together and still you have a wonderful smile on the show today? You're still smiling, you're still
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
have you accomplished that?
I think in a couple different ways. Honestly, our 30th wedding anniversary is in a few months. So we've been married almost 30
Congrats.
years. Thank you very much. We've raised two kids who are now either grown and flown or almost there. just
Yep.
just a little bit more. And they're both good, decent human beings. So we succeeded in producing those out into the world, good, decent humans. And we didn't start working honestly together until about 2017. That's when
Okay.
Smart Image started. Um, we both bring very different skill sets to the table. So, where I'm more of the content development, message development, brand identity, um, crisis communications, things like that, more in the communication than journalism ish side. My husband is more on the marketing and sales and also artistic side. So he spent about a decade as a photographer, for
Oh,
example.
wow.
He traveled, yeah, he was a photographer. He traveled with the Bass Pro Tour,
Oh,
all
wow.
over
Yeah, yeah,
the,
yeah.
the country with the professional anglers. And then he was employee number two at a startup that ended up on Shark Tank and being invested by
What?
Mark Cuban. Yep, by Mark Cuban. And then that sold out in 2024. And so then he said, in around 2020, he's like, let's come back to my roots. And he went back to school. He has a marketing degree from the Kellogg School at Northwestern University. So he kind of can act as a fractional CMO, which a lot of startups need. They can't afford a CMO, like a full-time CMO and benefits. So really that's more his role. And I'm more of the for lack of a better word, fractional PR communications and messaging guru.
Wow, you guys are quite the dynamic duo. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's
Well, we
impressive.
have, and he works up. A lot of times we'll work in the same room, but he usually is in a different room of the house than I am. But we spend every day, pretty much all day, in the same house. And the good news is we still like each other, so that's good. And he goes out and fishes a lot, so
Okay, that's
he
nice.
gets out of the house. Yeah.
Wow, that's very cool. What would you say? What would you give a tip to any entrepreneur out there that's looking at starting a business with their significant
Yeah.
other? What do you think what is it that makes these things work?
Yeah. First and foremost, I think it's defined roles.
Mm,
Like if it's a husband and wife, as example, or two spouses, you need your role. One's role needs to be maybe more operational. This is just an example,
yeah.
operational. And the other one can be maybe more the face of the company. And the one so whoever's better at selling, who's ever better, maybe is more personable in person, is the face of the sales portion of the company. So you need to have defined roles of who does what. And then you need to have the relationship in which my role is operations. So when I tell you that I need to know what you're going to bill this month to certain clients, you need to answer me and not ignore me. You know what I mean? It has to
Mm-hmm.
be that mutual respect
Yep.
of, this is my role, this is your role. So then when you ask me to do something, I need to say, yes, chef, and get it done. Yeah.
I like that. Yes, chef. I'm on it.
Mhm.
Yep. I like that. Yeah.
And I will tell
That's
you
good.
one thing that I think is kind of fun that my husband did when we started working together. And this was 100% his idea. He made sure I got paid from the business more than he did, just to
Hmm.
try and offset the imbalance of women in the workplace. Honestly,
Wow, that's
it was
cool.
his idea. Yeah, he said, we're going to make
That's
sure you get
cool.
paid more, just to do our little bit to, kind of close that gap.
Wow, that's cool. You know what?
Mhm.
That sounds like a really good partnership. You
Yeah,
sound like you guys are really doing well together. I love the stuff that you've shared. Defined roles. One's operational, one's the face of the
yeah.
company. That's pretty cool. I like some of
We
the other
have
things
very
that.
close friends who they own an agency of themselves, their husband and wife team out of Chicago. And we're very close friends with them. We've known them both since college. And they work it very similarly.
Okay.
The husband is the face of the company, the one who shakes people's hands and the one who's always
Sure.
out there, and the wife is the creative director. She has a very defined role. And when they disagree on things, which is often because coworkers disagree on how to approach different things differently, when they disagree on things, they absolutely approach it like, they're coworkers.
Yeah, that's
It's not
cool.
like, yeah. So
You got to leave the marriage part at home.
that's right.
Put the work stuff in the workplace, and then you gotta roll together. I
Yep.
really like that. There's some things you've said in here that I really like. I've highlighted, do good work for good companies. Like, you're
Yeah.
really looking to partner with people whose, values align.
Yep.
I like the part about, you know, um, a lot of companies, as they grow and scale, they become more about billing and they become less about the client. I think that's
Mhm.
really important to stay focused on the client. And then I think what I really loved was our own stories, our own content. Like, we're diving in and we're helping people really. I hear discover their voice. They're really helping people
That's a
discover
great
their
way to put it,
voice,
Dave. Yeah.
and they're
This, and
developing
that's
that
part of the
content.
messaging workshop that we do is, the very first step is, what is your voice? If your
Hmm.
brand was a person and walked into a party, how would your brand be dressed? How would your brand look? How would your brand sound? What kind of things would they talk about? Like, and then we need to make sure that everything that comes out of your company's brand has that similar voice to it. And we've worked with companies, their voice can be kind of silly and irreverent, and that's like,
Yeah,
think maybe Snapple, right? We,
yeah,
not to suggest we've worked with Snapple, we've not, but when you think of silly and irreverent brands that have that voice, right? And then others say, no, we want to be businesslike. We want to, there's no joking around here. There's no, and so, okay. So we make sure everything we
Hmm.
do is with that personality and voice. The biggest hurdle sometimes is getting everybody in the company on the same page. If you'd be surprised, perhaps, if you went to a next door business and lined 10 employees up and asked them each the same question: what does your company do? How many different answers you would get. And those 10 answers should be consistent across the board if your brand is going to make any kind of dent in the market.
wow, that's a great. That's a great thing. I'm going to write that down. I like that. What do your company do? I think that's great. That's a great test. Okay. So I got a question for you, because, a lot of companies go through crisis, and,
Yeah.
when they go through crisis, a lot of times, they get down, they lose company morale, they lose, brand reputation, that sort of thing. And I'm just gonna share a story with you, but I'm not gonna use any of the company's names that were involved in
Okay.
this. But I'm gonna give you a scenario and see how you guys would walk through it, because I think it's good. Now, there's a snow removal company that's based out of New Jersey and New York, and they
Okay.
picked up a large snow removal contract, kind of last minute, for one of the big four banks. And
Okay.
they went into that contract and they thought, man, we're going to do a great job. They picked up 400 or 500 locations, and they absolutely fell on their face. They
Mm.
did a terrible job. And in talking with the bank, I only know it from the bank side of the story. So
Hmm.
I don't know it from the contracted company
Right.
side, but the bank would go anywhere from 2 to 4 days without service at a location. And this is horrible for a bank, right? Because they need that access all the time. And
Right.
they're trying to prevent slip and falls and access to the ATMs. And
Hmm.
so this company ends up getting terminated, from the
Hmm.
contract. And then, they hired a couple hundred subcontractors to do the work for them. And now their lack
Hmm.
of performance led to a lot of penalties. And then those penalties led to non-payments. And then they didn't
Hmm.
pay those subcontractors, but those subcontractors still want to get paid, even though those subcontractors did a really poor job servicing the client. Because had those subcontractors done what they were hired to do, that company wouldn't have been in the position that it was in, because the work would have been done the
Right.
way that they had agreed upon. Now they lose the client, so they lose some
Lose the bank.
reputation. They lose the bank.
Hmm.
Yep. But they can replace that client, right? That story
Hmm.
is not going to go to every client in the world. It might have a little bit of poof to it, but it's not the
For
end of the
sure.
world. But where they got hit was on social media and Facebook and just all over constantly.
Yeah.
Don't pay our bills, don't pay our bills, don't work with these people, worst place to work in the world, horrible
Mm.
company, don't contract with them. How do you go into a scenario like that and help that
Yeah.
company rebuild reputation? Because that seems really sticky to me.
It is very sticky, and that's a sticky situation. There's multi layers there, right? So the two biggest crisis communication, brand reputation rules to me are speed. You need to address things quickly. Don't wait until people are talking about it
Hmm.
online. Okay. Speed and truth. Speed and truth. S- Say the truth and nothing but the truth and no more. Nobody else needs to know the ins and outs, but you need to be able to, when you see things going south for any brand, you need to be able to address it before the questions start coming in, before the bad reviews start coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to address them honestly. And if that means saying to those subcontractors and to the bank, we didn't manage this well, we see that now. And we are going to look at and change all of our systems so that this doesn't happen again. And while it may take some time for us to pay you, subcontractors, you have our word in writing here that we will do so by a certain date. That's what I would recommend to that company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice. So you're really kind of going into this damage control. You're getting out in front of it,
Ahead of the
and
game.
then
Yeah.
you're trying to make it right for that
Right.
partner who did or didn't live up to the expectation. Okay, so that's
And that's
really good
admitting, it's
advice.
admitting that maybe it was mismanaged. In
Yeah.
hindsight, we've all had situations in which we didn't do, in hindsight, we're like, yeah, I could have done that piece better. And that's okay. These
Yeah,
companies are all manned by humans. We
that's right.
all can make mistakes. And for the most part, your consumer, whether that's your subcontractor, your bank, or your consumer walking into the bank, consumers accept that these companies are run by humans.
Mm-hmm.
We can accept mistakes. We just want you to own up to it. And then it all feels better. And then you have to follow through, right? Then you have to follow through. So this is a very different circumstance. But during the pandemic, we were called in to help actually out in your area, Ralph, in the Northwest, a known senior care facilities that owned a
Yeah.
few senior care homes in the Washington and Oregon area. And it was the pandemic, and a lot of people in their senior care facilities were dying, who
Mm.
they also had comorbidities, to begin with,
Yep.
as COVID came. And the reality was the death rate at these facilities was not much more than it usually is, but it was COVID, and the media up there wanted to write about it and how all these old people are dying from COVID in these facilities and how it's bad. So they called us
Mm.
in. we didn't try to say people aren't dying. You know, we said and recommended that they say, yes, we've lost X number of people in the last week, and give weekly updates to the media if they needed to, right? We can't give you cause of death because of HIPAA laws. But what we can tell you is that these numbers are, with just a little bit of an inflation, normal for this industry, number one. Number two, this is everything we're doing to keep our residents safe. This is everything we're doing to communicate to the residents' families. And it has to be quick. It has to be honest. And if there's something that this was not the case at the time, but if there was something that they coulda, woulda, shoulda done better, we would have recommended they do that and then communicate that they're going to be doing that better going forward. So it's about just addressing, yes, this is scary. This is an issue. This happened. Here's our responsibility. Here's the truth and the stats. And acknowledging nobody likes it when people die, but we live in the senior care facility industry. This is,
It's
we
a
have
tough
a pretty
industry.
high death rate, right? Exactly. Yeah.
I like that. Quick, honest, and this is the change we're making. So you're acknowledging it quickly and efficiently. You're giving an honest response, and then you're saying, this is the change that we're putting in place to solve the problem within the company.
Exactly. And then stop talking, right? One of the biggest mistakes you'll find companies make who, whether it's the water companies in Michigan when, people don't have clean water to drink, whether it's the CEO of British Petroleum during that disaster in the Gulf. I could teach a college class of PR with case studies of people who kept talking when they could have stopped. They were trained enough to answer the questions during a press conference, for example, honestly and quickly. And then the media are trained to come back and ask more questions and dig a little more and find out more. Stop talking. You've answered the questions. We've said all we're going to say. Okay. We don't have more information right now that we can give you publicly. And repeat the same message over and over again if you need to in answer to the additional questions. So it's a lack of training on when to stop, because they'll keep asking questions to get you to say something that's a better quotable quote than you've already said. So that's the other thing that we train our clients to do, not just in a crisis, but in general, as how to manage interviews and keep things on subject. And give reporters the stories that they want. They need to sell eyeballs. I get it. They have a job to do too. So let's give them a story, but let's stick to how we want to frame the story. And then if they want to go talk to other people and get different angles, that's on them to do so. Certainly not our spokespeople. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's really good advice. I'm kind of reminded of United Airlines. They went through this. They were really struggling, and their CEO, I think he made a statement a couple years back. I can't remember what it was, but it was kind of short. It was kind of, to the point. There wasn't a lot there. And I think he got beat up in the media a little bit about, not giving a detailed response, not doing more, not caring more,
Oh, I remember that. Was it some plane, I think, sat on the runway for 12 hours or something ridiculous like that?
Something happened. Something bad happened.
And he just ignored it. Right.
Yeah, like it was a failure. But you know what? The thing is, unfortunately, I have to fly all the time for work. And I fly a lot into Texas, and Texas is big United Airlines, big United Airlines. And so, I would say that as I rank airlines, you see consistent improvement with United Airlines. Like, there was a time, if I was on a United Airlines flight, I mean, I would rather jump off a bridge than be on a United Airlines flight. But you know what? They proactively text you. They proactively give you access to lounges if there's a delay. They, they proactively make the experience better. And I would say that probably over the last 2 years, I'm as comfortable flying on United Airlines as I would be on Delta for, 30% less cost. And I think, he didn't have a big speech. I think it was quick. It seemed to be honest. And then on the background, they worked on change, and they started to make cultural changes, and they started to make changes. And I think that's part of it too, right? Like, as you're going through it, what you said here, which I really liked, was, you have to follow through. If you don't follow through, it really doesn't matter. And follow through, accept the mistakes, own it, and follow through. So when you're working with owners and entrepreneurs, the question becomes, that accountability is really one of the things that's hard. Like, everybody can talk the good game, everybody can put it together, but it seems to me that the follow through is a killer. How do you help them stay accountable, or do you?
Well, if they allow us to help them, we'll help them. But depending on the size of the company too, there's a lot of engine inside the company, right? In the case of a United, I mean, it wasn't the CEO himself and only himself doing it. They had an entire engine, I'm sure, inside making those changes. And, knowing that it's like one small step at a time. A reputation takes a while to build. A good reputation takes a while to build. You got to build it up. You got to be honest. You got to follow through. You have to do what you say you're going to do. And it takes about 1 second to destroy that reputation. And that's where, it's going to take a lot longer to build up then on the back end. But yeah, we can help with that. But really, depending on the size of the company, it's an internal engine too. You have to have that culture internally that believes it's okay that we admitted we made a mistake, if that's the case, and is absolutely behind making the changes that need to be made. But that has to come from the top. And if the employees tasked with making changes doesn't feel that the C-suite is really truthfully in their heart of hearts behind it, then neither will that task force.
Yeah, that's really, really smart.
Yeah.
That's really, really smart. So you guys are growing and building, and are you guys taking on new clients today?
We are absolutely. Yep. My husband does most of the, my business partner does most of the new business work. I manage a lot of the current clients that we have. And so we are open to new business, open to new clients. And it's asmartimage.com.
smartimage.com. Okay, that's easy to remember. I like that.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing it. You're taking on new clients. And then, are you guys on social media? Can people who are listening today connect with you on social media, follow you on social media? How can they do that?
Absolutely. So it's pretty easy to find both of us. I'm Kira Perdue, Perdue. And then my business partner is Andy. And his last name it's Dutch. It's Hagedon. It's Hagedon. And you can find us both on LinkedIn.
Okay, so connect on LinkedIn. And then if somebody wants to become a new customer, if they're saying, man, this is for me. I mean, you just have a wealth of knowledge, so smart, incredible business you've built.
Thank you.
I encourage anybody to reach out to you, because, I mean, I've got so many notes here. It's crazy. How can someone get a hold of you? Is it best to go through the website? Is that the best way to say, hey, let's engage, let's work together?
It's probably the best way to go through their website, or LinkedIn works too. We're on there all the time as well. So, but yeah, the website has a contact us page. And even if it's, I think, you just book 30 minutes with one of us, depending on what you think you need, and based on our individual expertise, or 30 minutes with both of us, so we can learn, what your goals might be and how we might be able to help.
Sure. That's awesome. Okay. So they can connect with you on LinkedIn. They connect on the website, book a quick 30-minute call. And it's kind of a discovery call. We're going to learn about the business, learn about where they want to go, what's going on in their world.
Right.
Very, very exciting stuff. Okay. Well, that's very, very cool. We're bringing this thing in for a landing. And I've just got a couple of just small questions left.
Sure.
For any entrepreneur, as you've been on this entrepreneurial journey for quite a while now, and you've been very successful, previously as an executive, what is the number one tip that you would give any entrepreneur out there? What do you think is most important for them to be successful?
Well, speaking for myself and what I attribute a lot of my entrepreneurial success to is building a network in the course of your career that are people who know they can trust you. When I set out on my own to become a consultant, if you will, it really grew quickly because I just let trusted people know that I was doing so. And my previous work spoke for me. And even people I didn't know were getting calls from people who knew me and said, hey, Kira's good people. You need to look into working with A Smart Image to see how she might be able to help you. So it's really, maybe the bottom line is work ethic.
Yeah,
I
love it.
Yeah. And that's, one of the things I mentioned. We have 2 kids in their 20s and they're growing and flying now on their own. And if we did nothing else right, we taught them to work. When they would get their first jobs, my daughter's first job was as a hostess at a restaurant and then also helping wash dishes. And then my son's had a couple different jobs, dishwasher included. Our rule to them was, if it's slow, there's nothing going on at work, pick up a mop. Because you standing around, even if it's slow, shouldn't be an option for you. You're there to work. So pick up a broom, pick up a mop, pick up a rag, wipe a table, whatever it is you need to do or is available to do. And I will tell you that has served them so far in their young lives and the jobs that they've had, that has served them well.
Wow. That is an amazing piece of advice. I love that.
And
no
show
matter
up
what
on
you're
time.
doing. Yes.
Show up
be
on
on time.
It's not hard.
Be on time. Be on time.
Right.
There's nothing worse than being late. I agree with that 100%. All right, that's amazing. I've got one final question. We've got a big whiteboard on the side of the road. You can say one phrase, one word, one sentence. What do you want to share with the world?
Be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind to one another. Yep.
I love it. That's a timeless statement.
Agreed.
Well, listen, this has been an absolutely incredible show. I've had such a great time hanging out with you. I've learned so much from you. Yes, it has been amazing, and I'm very thankful to have had you on the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you and be here.
Thank you. This has been the Entrepreneurial Journey. I'm your host, Dave Westcott. We are back 9:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every single Tuesday. If you like this show, give us a like, give us a comment, drop your comments into the comment box. We'll get back to you. We appreciate all of the feedback. Give us a share if you liked it. And do yourself a favor and check out Smart Image, asmartimage.com. Check this team out, this husband and wife team doing an incredible job, building an incredible business. Check them out and take your business to the next level, and have a great day.
Every CEO's journey has its Everest. The moments when the path forward feels steep, uncertain, and alone. With Sherpa CEO coaching, you don't climb alone. Our experienced coaches are your guides, helping you break through barriers, sharpen your strategy, strengthen your leadership, and build a team that can carry you higher. With tailored one-on-one coaching, strategic planning, and real accountability, your summit is within reach. Sherpa CEO Coaching, your guide to confidence, clarity, and extraordinary business growth. Get coached and learn more at sherpaceo.com.